and recorded. All right. Excellent. Thank you, Daisy. And good evening again, everyone. SNHU Career Services is excited to kick off the Business Career Week with an excellent panel of representatives here to speak with you in the session. Ask the Analysts, Exploring Data-Driven Business Careers. If you have not already, please scan the QR code to check into this session. We will begin with introductions of our panelists. We'll review preliminary questions that I'll present to the panelists. And then there will be that opportunity for attendees to turn on their cameras and ask questions directly to the panelists. Or you may also enter questions in the chat during the event, and Daisy will be collecting those for us to address during the Q&A portion if you're more comfortable with that. Again, if you haven't already, please scan the QR code on the right side of the slide here to check into this evening's session. All right, and first, Daisy will review our access and accommodations policy as well.
Hi, everybody. So okay.
Sorry.
Your experience here at Southern New Hampshire University is important to us. It is our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of presentations, design, or delivery that present barriers to accessibility, please notify. If you're an online student, you'll notify the Online Accessibility Center by emailing oac@snhu.edu or by phone at 866-305-9430. If you're a campus student, you'll notify the Campus Accessibility Center by emailing cac@snhu.edu or by phone at 603-644-3188. If you are SNHU staff or faculty, you'll notify the Human Resources offices by emailing hr@snhu.edu.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Daisy. And also for all SNHU students or alumni attending this evening, keep in mind that in addition to career preparation within your courses and these networking and information sessions, SNHU Career Services also offers support to current students and alumni with a team of career advisors providing resume reviews, mock or practice interviews, job search guidance, and more. And this is a lifetime benefit. So you may reach out to the career team at coccareer@snhu.edu or by phone at 888-672-1458. And you may also connect with the SNHU community through various social media platforms, one of course being our internal SNHU Connect, as well as Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Please also be sure to check out Handshake for other career events such as leadership skills and professional success session with the Rocket Companies that's coming up on Wednesday, September 21st. We have a LinkedIn and personal branding webinar coming up for business students on Thursday, September 22nd, and then also a career conversation on Tuesday, September 27th, discussing transferable skills and career opportunities with JB Hunt. So those are all available to register in Handshake, just like this evening's event was. Let's go ahead and kick off the introductions of our panelists. So first we'll get started. We have Madison or Maddie Garnick. She works as a data analyst with a Master of Science in Data Analytics and an MBA in Business Intelligence. She is an SNHU alumna as well. She works for Drift and is passionate about using data analytics to identify opportunities, deliver actionable insights, and improve end user experiences and drive performance improvements. There's Maddie. Welcome, Maddie. And then we have Gary Wingfield. He's a program analyst in processing for the Office of the Chief Human Capital Officer. Gary is an alumnus of High Point University and comes to FEMA with a wealth of experience, including higher education, recruitment, marketing, media, and firefighting. So welcome, Gary. We also have Tasha Chapman. She is a product operations analyst. She spent years working in various medical fields, dreaming of entering the corporate business world, and then she experienced SNHU. Through her hard work, dedication, and many resources from the SNHU Career Services team, she now works for FIS. She came from a small town in West Virginia with no corporate business experience, but through hard work and assistance from Career Services, she was able to gain that employment with her dream company. And then we have Salaam Miner. She's a VP of Digital Product at JP Morgan Chase & Co. She has been with JP Morgan for over 15 years. She started as a teller in the branches. She wanted to do more in the financial sector. She moved on to the banker help desk, assisted the branch bakers, and she also had the opportunity to join the user acceptance testing team and worked as a quality assurance analyst there as well. She learned valuable skills around software development cycles and products that in turn opened to more networking opportunities as she grew in her role. And she can confidently say she realized her passion for product development and began to pursue that as the next step of her career. And again, she's a product owner in the digital account opening space and thoroughly enjoys her work as it's both challenging and creative. We also have Rue Southall, another SNHU alumna. She is now a business operations analyst with over 7 years in problem solving. She recently graduated from SNHU with a bachelor's in general studies and is currently a contractor with Nike. And finally, we have Matt Katofsky. He was initially trained as an engineer and quickly realized that career path was not his career path. So he pursued an MBA and ultimately landed a job in analytics. Since then, he's learned business strategy, data integration, and visualization. Data can be challenging to understand, but it's his job to find the insights and make them actionable for people to execute. He truly enjoys delving into complex problems and developing innovative solutions to help people make better decisions. So welcome to Matt and all of our panelists. And we'll jump in with the preliminary Q&A. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen here so we can go ahead and review these questions. So we'll start off with a kind of a round robin, if that works for everybody. And I'll start with if we want to start with Maddie, since you were the first we introduced. Maddie, tell us a little bit about your professional experience prior to your current role, if you may.
Of course. So I had the most experience in research actually before I became a data analyst. I didn't start out as a data analyst. I was working in research. My undergraduate degree was actually in neuroscience too, so I wasn't initially planning on going down this pathway. But your initial plans can obviously change, and I like to think mine changed for the better. I'm extremely happy with where I'm at. I love data analytics. And it just goes to show that even if it's not the path you had originally thought, it can still end up being, where you're supposed to be too. But so I was in research for a while. I actually was an academic advisor at Southern New Hampshire for a very short period of time, and then was a data analyst at Southern New Hampshire University too. So I'm a Southern New Hampshire University alumnus, and through and through, I've been with SNHU for a while in different capacities. But then I pivoted. I got my master's in data analytics at SNHU and my MBA there as well. And I pivoted, and I haven't looked back since. I've been really enjoying the transition to data analytics, both at SNHU and then outside of SNHU too.
Fantastic. So really getting that education and then business and then moving on to STEM, because that's so prevalent now, right? So certainly appreciate you sharing that path. And next we'll go ahead to Gary, if you can share a bit about your professional experience prior to your current role.
Sure. Initially, I started out at High Point University. After graduating there, I became a resident director. And then from there, I transitioned to commercial radio, where I started out as part-time on air and part-time promotions assistant. I transitioned from there to the full-time promotions director position. And after that, I then transitioned to a communication specialist for a rare and chronic disease management company, where I did content management and managing the website that had just recently launched. And after that position, I transitioned to firefighting. I did that for a short time. After firefighting, then I transitioned to FEMA, where I started out in recruitment, and I was attending career fairs and sourcing candidates and qualifying resumes. After that, I transitioned within FEMA, and I was a assistant career manager, where I was working with our intermittent employment population, and our temporary full-time. And so after being there, then I transitioned to the role I'm in now as a program analyst within payroll and processing. And there I handle all of the data. I send reports to 3 different teams. I deal with ad hoc reports. And it's just a very fulfilling role in the sense that I get to just problem solve. Someone to come to me and have a request for a report, and it might not be something that's readily available, and I'll just go ahead and kind of figure it out and then get them what they need.
Very cool. So kind of all those experiences culminating, and it sounds like you work with a lot of different people now too, which is
Yes,
like
I do.
very, very collaborative. I love that. Awesome. And then Salaam, if you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about your role, maybe your past experience in analyst roles too.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, like the introduction stated, I was still in college. I got into the Taylor to see like what financial services look like, even if like my major, like Maddie was saying, like what you started may not be like. So I graduated with management information system, and that's where I thought I was going. But once I started as a Taylor, I'm like, wait, this is what I like, and exploring more. I've done many different roles. Even if I've been in Chase for a long time, I moved around quite a bit to like see where truly my passion is. I was the lead in user experience testing. I was in the process area, but I worked in product. Like as I was working as a UAT lead, I started connecting with a lot of products and like data analysts and other like stakeholders that opened up my eyes. I like product. I like being, creating a vision, be creative, and all that involved in the product creation cycle, life cycle. So being in the product management role before this role, managing different products, banking deposit products, and creating their portfolios and things like that, and looking at the numbers. Where are we today? Where do we need to be? Month over month, week over week, and all that, numbers you're looking at, that helped me to eventually become a product owner. And currently I'm a product owner in the digital account opening space. That's
Very cool. I love that. No, and thank you, because it is kind of, as you grow through the company, you meet new people, and really put yourself out there for opportunities that are interesting to you, and that gets you to a VP role, right? So that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And let's see, Tasha, if you want to go ahead and chime in next with your professional experience prior to your current role.
Prior to my current role, I was, like my introduction said, I was in so many different medical fields, and I would gain experience. I would switch a position, but what I discovered is that I accrued those transferable skills. I problem solving, networking, relationship building, um, um, billing, accounting, finance. So I touched a little bit of everything. And as I got older, I thought, what am I doing? I want to do something that makes me happy. And I wanted to set that example for my family. Like, you are never too old to dream something else. Like, if you want it, go after it. And here I was from a very small town in West Virginia, and I participated in an event at SNHU. And what was funny is because one of the guest speakers said, your key is going to be networking. It's going to be relationship building. And I thought, I don't know. I'm from West Virginia. I don't know how much I can network, but we're sure going to try it. And I put myself out there. I had the desire and I had the drive. And it was from those moments of being able to speak to those from career services, speaking to others, networking with professors, networking with professional people of who I wanted to do. It was where I discovered, like, I can do this. I can attain this. And it was kind of interesting for me that the company that I applied for was FIS, and it was my dream company. That's where I wanted to be. That's where I wanted to spend my career. And because I was able to take the advice from career services and build those relationships, I got it. And in fact, like, now I'm in a product operations role, but it's turned into so much more than what I had imagined.
That's fantastic. And where there's a will, there's a way, and you're just the absolute example of that. So thank you for sharing that path and that advice too. Perfect. And then let's see, I'm going in alphabetical order by by company name here. So Rue, if you want to go ahead and talk about your role with Nike.
Yes, so I definitely have a bumpy ride. So from 2015 to around 2016, I was actually working 2 jobs and going to community college. I was working at Cracker Barrel Country Store as a retail associate, and I was a receptionist for ophthalmologist. Time frame, I had to go on maternity leave because I did become pregnant. So I took about 6 weeks off for my child. Got back into doing front desk at a place called VCU Health in Richmond, Virginia. From there, I just wanted more of my life. I stopped going to school for a while. So I just, even without this, I got my associate's degree 2 days before I had my child, but I just wanted more for myself. So I started putting in job applications. Got a opportunity to become a key account analyst. I had no prior experience. They just saw that I wanted to do better with my life, so they gave me an opportunity. And that really set me up for the job that I have as a business operations analyst with Nike, because I didn't have any skills regarding analytics, but somebody took a chance on me and gave me that foot in the door, which then grew to like a national account manager, program coordinator with Microsoft, and different things like that. So sometimes when you have a will, there will be a way, and people will see that in you.
I love that. And really, carrying that education and that hard work to be able to, land such an exciting position and something that, I know we talk about imposter syndrome a lot. Like, am I prepared to do this role? And, if you just embrace it and really prepare yourself, and, it can definitely happen. So that's awesome. I love it. And Matt, if you want to go ahead and share with us your professional experience prior to your current role.
Yeah, sure. So I was in an interesting situation where I came out of my MBA program right at the onset of the recession. So it was like very, very poorly placed. And eventually, after a while, someone actually took a chance on me and hired me as a business analyst. Week 1, they dropped me into Tableau training. Like before then, had no exposure whatsoever to like proper BI, and have been just onward and upward from there. In that initial like Tableau training, I really got the ability to interface and network with my fellow analysts. And after like really understanding the tool, I became as known as like the go-to guy for BI, and leveraged that network to look at problems that were outside of my immediate area of expertise. And from those experiences, it really helped to push me professionally, because it's really easy to be working on one thing and just know that problem to its fullest extent. It's not until you're pulled outside of your norm and can evaluate different problems that you can truly come up with innovative solutions. And then the brilliant part is applying those learnings to what you've been doing every day and seeing it from a different perspective. So it's really opened a lot of doors for me. And so now in my current role, I get to interface with a variety of different data sets and really like chart the course for our analytics journey.
That's very cool. And it is. Sometimes it's just, overcoming that fear and jumping into something that, it's not the status quo, but it's a skill that proves to be super valuable in the end. So that's fantastic. And thank you for sharing that. So great to kind of get that foundation from everyone. And then we'll kind of, let's put ourselves in a situation where you're in a room, let's say, and this person had never heard of an analyst, right? So, we're asking the analysts here. So I guess, we'll jump in with this question and have people answer it too. How would you explain your job to someone who isn't familiar either with your company or title, or just the role of an analyst? So if you want to kind of give a high level overview about your company, some of them we've probably heard of, but kind of talk about, explain your job to somebody that has never heard of an analyst, and explain to us in layman's terms kind of what you do. So let's see. Salaam, do you want to kick that off for us?
Absolutely. Okay, so like I said originally, I'm a lead product owner in the digital account opening space. So as a PO, you are the center of every product development. Everyone is looking at you. So you better be ready to give answers. You better be responsible enough like to understand what are they asking me? Why are they asking me? How do I get it? So you work with many different business partners and different stakeholders and team. So being able to work within a team, good communication skill. That's like, what is like, my day in, day out. It could be email, it could be Zoom all day, or it could be like email, like different, like, communication methods. But you have to be able to explain yourself. This is the reason why this is working. This is the reason why this will not work. And that type of, communication. And you're also responsible for, maximizing the value of the product you support. How do I maximize from this product I'm trying to put out there? What is my MVP? Like, you need to understand that, the vision of the product, and that's my day in, day out. And you're also like I'm also the point person defining the goal. We work in agile methodology. So we sit in Scrum team, like, like all that understanding, like, what do we want to accomplish in this sprint? What do we want to work on? What do we want to put out? What can we commit? Do we understand? Where are we? That's my day in, day out, because I am the point person to create the goal for the Scrum team. And as you do that, you'll be like managing the product load. I do that. Look at prioritizing it. This needs to go down. This needs to go up. Those are the things we're looking at, and we'll work with your analytics. Understand the numbers. Where are we down here? What do we need to do? What's broken? What can we fix? Oh, we're doing really good here. Keep it up, so we can, continue to do the good work, and listening the feedback, from your teams, customers, and other stakeholders you're working with. That's my day in and out.
That's fantastic. And it is, it sounds like kind of seeing the high level, but also the little details all at the same time, right? So do you find that, yeah. And as far as kind of anyone, let's see, Gary, do you see that kind of working in, the Office of the Human Capital? Do you, see a lot of that too, if you're explaining kind of what you would do to someone that's not familiar with the role with FEMA?
Yeah, actually, what's really interesting and cool about working for the federal government is that we'll have, let's just say, a program analyst, but the program analyst will have so many different responsibilities within different areas. So in my particular area, we are the epicenter for payroll and processing. So all of the actions that we get, which are between sometimes hundreds or thousands of actions that are going on for all of the employees within FEMA, I'm responsible, and my teammate, we're responsible for making sure that we're handling that data, whether it be daily reports, biweekly reports, monthly reports, ad hoc reports. And so we're getting this information, boiling it down, filtering it, making sure that people get it, but also that they understand it as well, because we might have someone who is new to the agency or new to a particular team. Since we are responsible for 3 different teams, we're responsible for our intermittent workforce, our temporary full-time workforce, and our permanent full-time workforce. So we have all of these actions going on at the same time. And what really prepared me for this particular role was my role as the promotions director in radio. When people would ask me, like, what do you do? And I would say, imagine yourself cooking on 4 different stoves and not burning anything. So a lot of times that's what goes on, because you have so many competing priorities, and you have to get this to this person, and making sure that you're looking at it, making sure that it makes sense, and making sure that you're returning it to the other teams to make sure they have what they need, so that everything can be as efficient as possible.
Yeah, so a lot of kind of that, again, collaboration and really kind of paying attention to the details to make sure, everything is looked at, right, to be able to deliver the best kind of analysis. That's awesome. And I know, Tasha, you kind of touched on, working with other teams too. So if you can kind of speak to, if kind of the collaboration aspect, but if someone wasn't familiar with FIS, kind of tell that particular person, what is it you do with your role as an analyst?
In my role, I fall under the banking solutions. So we're trying to, in my particular position, I play the role as the product analyst, but then I also play the role as the operations analyst. So I have to think about the big picture at all times. And I'm working with trying to figure out for integrated payables, that's our product. How can we deliver a product that works best for clients? How can we grow revenue for the business? How can we mitigate and limit expenses as we need to? And so in my role, I don't have to have all the answers. I don't have to be that technical, that subject matter expert in all things. But what I do have to know is who to go to, asking the right questions for the right people, and being able to get people to collaborate when sometimes, they may not want to, and sometimes they may not have like the same ideas and going down the right path, but it's my job to maintain that bigger picture and see things that maybe others may not see. So I work with, we have Agile as well. So it's working with the Scrum Masters, it's working with the POs, the development resources, the sales, implementation. So we'll have our programmers, analysts that are in there. They're providing the surface, they're running applications. And then we'll also have our business analysts who are providing those reports at times and thinking about what the business needs and how we can make things better. But then really with the data analyst and those ad hoc reports, and sometimes customers needs things, businesses needs things, and it's working with everybody to collaborate, but understanding what is it that we're trying to get to, how can we make things better, and what are the pain points that we need to overcome.
Yeah, so kind of addressing those issues and being the person that'll, speak up, because you're talking to all these teams, right? And being able to pinpoint that. And I know, Rue, you're in business operations as well. So is that, some resonating from Tasha's experience in your experience so far with Nike?
For sure, especially about the collaboration portion. So one part of my job, because I'm in the strategic enterprise capabilities sector, and it deals with onboarding and offboarding. So for example, we have different types of reports that get sent, and my job is to make sense of those reports and utilize the information to do some sort of actionable item with it. So for example, we have a report that comes that has to do with who is on assignment, contractors who are on assignment or are about to roll off. And my duty was to take this report that has been getting sent for months and do something with it in order to streamline the onboarding process. So of course you have to have cross-functioning teams to do so. So you have to work with like hiring managers or people from like an enablement team and bring them all together for a common goal in order to streamline the process. So I'm an introvert. So like you were saying, sometimes you have to bring people together that may not want to work together. So as an introvert, I kind of had to get my extrovert hat on to bring those teams together in order to accomplish a goal. So not only do I have to do that with reporting, there's other one-off tasks that I have to do it with as well. So that's one piece of advice, is make sure that you know how to work with people regardless of if you're a introvert or not.
Yeah, and really, like you said, kind of wearing those different hats to, work with different teams, because that's a big part of it, kind of that collaboration aspect of, kind of speaking the language of many teams, but also delivering it to teams that don't speak that language, right? So
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. That's awesome. And I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next question, because I want to target our data analysts here and talk to them a little bit. I know, Matt, you mentioned Power BI and Tableau. So tell us a little bit kind of, what are some of those tangible hard skills, those programs that are helpful in your role, kind of from the analysis side?
Sure. So I would certainly be familiar with an array of tools, because like the reality being is there's a lot of different programs that are being stood up, and the skills are relatively transferable between all of them. But I think categorically, I would be comfortable with like a spreadsheet tool like an Excel or a Google Sheets as a base level, because the reality being most people that you interface with, that's what they were taught in school, and that's the lowest common denominator. It's the easiest way to have a conversation with that audience. But then from there, I would certainly learn SQL, just because there's an interesting differentiation between like data science, data engineering, and data viz, but everyone has that base layer of SQL. And so again, it's just the easiest way to communicate with someone else. And then I would certainly pick up a BI tool. My go-to is Tableau. I love it. But certainly pick up other tools out there. There's a lot of companies that are Looker shops or Domo shops. They're all fairly strong in what they do, and just different pros and cons to each of them. Once you know one of them, it's pretty easy to pick up the others.
Nice. That's super helpful, and kind of, I know there are a lot of trainings and of course, courses and things like that to be able to train on these, certify and things like that. So it's always standout, right? When those are shining on your resume as well for certain positions or analysis. And Maddie, do you share some of those favorites as well to tell us a little bit about some hard skills you use in your job?
Yes, definitely. I would certainly echo, that first layer that Matt had mentioned of like a Google Sheets or Excel. A lot of people are going to have that common language, so you can, be on the same page when you're communicating information with them. Again, second, the BI tool, you want to be able to visualize data in some way is a very common skill, whether that's Tableau, Power BI, or Looker is what I currently use. I actually was I dove deep into Power BI, and I was able to transition to Looker perfectly fine. Had never even heard of Looker. So like Matt had said, getting your feet wet with a couple of the big ones, you can still pretty easily transition to any of the ones that you might end up working with in your current role, your next role, wherever you might end up. You might end up with something new, but if you have the general knowledge of some of the data visualization tools, the transition is typically fairly easy. Would also echo SQL. That is definitely going to be your best friend, so that you can pull the data yourself and don't have to rely on someone else or make changes. A lot of what I also transitioned to in my current role is doing a lot of like analytics engineering to set myself up from beginning to end, to be able to do some of my analysis, and you will definitely be needing SQL for that. One other thing that I would also add is some sort of coding tool. This might not be necessary for every type of analyst role, but it definitely is for mine. So whether that's R or Python, either tends to fly in most organizations. In my current role, I was given the option. You can choose whichever you prefer to use. So, having either of those as a base knowledge, again, they are pretty transferable too. If you know one, you can kind of pick up the other. But yeah, definitely one of those if you wanted to get into any sort of advanced statistics or machine learning. Those are the two that I would also add to Matt's comments as well. I spend most of my time in SQL and R, so.
Thank you. Yeah, and definitely a lot of different languages to learn out there, and trainings to take advantage of, and I know kind of that marriage between computer science and business is starting to become blended. So I'd love to hear from either Salaam or Tasha, and kind of especially from the banking perspective, with a lot of people kind of blending that. Do you see a lot of some hard skills from the banking sector that kind of overlap with analysis?
So for me, I think Matt and Maddie definitely nailed it when they said Excel. That's a denominator. You form that basis there, and as long as you're willing to keep learning, don't think that I'm in a role and I'm stuck here. No, you need to keep learning and you need to keep evolving. Whatever skill you think that, just be in the mindset of being open to add more underneath your cap. And so Power BI is something that we work a lot with. With SQL, being able to, for me, like with accounting and finance, I use a lot of Excel with that. So it's like a baseline for me, but being able to understand Power BI, I mean, it kind of generates everything for you. And it's being able to have whatever role you're in currently, just have the mindset that it may not be your last role. So whatever you can do to learn, that's what you want to do. So coding, I mean, just keep enhancing your skills. Like for me, I'm learning Python and I never thought I would be doing that. So, I mean, it's just something that as long as you're willing to learn, ask questions and show people, like, we're all humans. So don't be afraid to ask a question. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I have conversations with SVPs that I never thought I would, but realizing that we're all humans and there's something that we can learn from everybody. Be willing to show that you're, put yourself out there that I want to learn, and then just start learning a little bit from everybody. So whether it's coding, it's Power BI, it's SQL, it's anything that you can do, keep enhancing those skills, because you don't know when you're not going to need it. Even if it's in banking, and if you just decide to be a developer, if you decide to be in implementations or being in onboarding. I mean, in my role, I deal with all of that. Like it's kind of like I'm in the center of all of that. So I understand. It's just like, be willing to just keep enhancing your skills.
And I agree to that. And I've been in different roles and different areas, use different data analytics tool. Like currently we use the Adobe Analytics. I don't go out to generate, but I use it. I look at it to make sure, what I need is there. But yeah, from SQL, Tableau, all these different things have been used or still get used in different areas. So having a broader knowledge, and if you have the opportunity, go get it. It's always helpful, and having to show I know this and that, that's like what makes you the top instead of the average. So don't be afraid, to go tackle it. And yeah, we use different data analytics tool, to see our data daily. So hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And really just kind of seeing the trends and kind of that teamwork, collaboration, that's huge kind of soft skills with analysis roles. And then, the hard skills too, with a lot of the Power BI, Tableau, the programming languages. So definitely across industries, it sounds like, there's a lot of overlap with the particular roles. So that's super helpful. And also kind of tied in some advice that I have for the last question here. So I'd love to start with Rue on this one, since you're a recent grad of SNHU and started about 5 months ago with Nike. So if you could, talk to your past self, or, think on some advice that you were given in the past, what advice would you give a business program recent graduate looking to work in your field?
I would say, number one, to utilize LinkedIn. For a while, I was not on LinkedIn at all. I just let it just go by the wayside. And then one day I told myself, hey, I'm about to get my degree. I might as well update my LinkedIn. And I did that. And then it entered me into a whole new world. There are recruiters galore looking for recent grads to get into these positions. Now, mind you, I've done contract positions, but in those contract positions, I've been able to work at awesome companies, trying them out. So I would say make sure that you have your resume updated, make sure that you showcase the talents and skills that you have, make sure you showcase and post about your accomplishments. And also, don't be afraid to reach out to recruiters. And one thing that really helped me get the Nike job was reaching out to the Student Success Center to get help with my doing my interview. So that helped as well. So just utilize your resources, and don't be afraid to sell yourself and your accomplishments online. Specifically, I'd say LinkedIn for sure.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Gary, working in kind of the human capital sphere, do you echo some of that advice, or do you have some advice that you'd give some recent business graduates as well from your perspective?
Absolutely. I would say a good piece of advice is, especially when you're applying for the federal government, sometimes and I've seen this and I've had conversations with candidates that wanted to apply. So when you're applying for the federal government position, make sure that you're really including all of the experience that you have, because no resume is too long for the federal government. Because sometimes there's been times where I've had colleagues that have told me about 50-page resumes, but it's about including all of that experience, and also make sure that you're getting to know people and you're networking. I know that's a sentiment from all of us here on this panel, is the networking aspect of it, because you never know, as big as this world is it's also extremely small. So you never know who you're going to run into again if you think it might just be a throwaway interaction. And then also a piece of advice that just goes on is to make sure that you're always constantly learning and evolving. Make sure you're adding things. If you think that you know something, there's always something else that you could learn. I liken myself, I tell people I'm a hoarder of life skills. So if there's something that I can constantly learn, that I want to constantly want to grow and evolve and do that. And then also another bit of advice that my mother gave me with my career going in different roles is go after your dreams. And if it turns into a nightmare, find another dream. So don't be afraid to go after what you want with all that you have. And then if you get there and it's not exactly what you thought it would be, it's okay. You gained that experience, and that experience is definitely going to add to what you have in that next role. Because I can guarantee all of the roles that I've had, I think back and I go, oh, I did that. And it makes sense, and it's interlocking with all the experience that I've had.
It's amazing. And I love that advice. Mother knows best, right?
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that, Gary. And Tasha, I know you touched on kind of that lifelong learning aspect too. So does that kind of, resonate with your advice too, or do you have some other advice for recent business grads?
It does. It encompasses a lot. For me, it was handshake was a key for me. Handshake, LinkedIn, being willing to network. But at the end of the day, what I had to remember is that we're all human. We're all just people. Don't be afraid to reach out to somebody just because they hold a certain title or they work for a certain company. You have that conversation. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone, because sometimes if you don't step out of your comfort zone, if you don't feel a little bit uncomfortable, maybe you're not pushing yourself hard enough. And be okay with failure. Be okay with those no's. But chalk it up as another experience, as a learning experience, and be willing to grow. I can't say that enough. Be willing to grow and develop those relationships, because you don't ever know. I was in a meeting scared to death one day, and here I was invited to talk to an SVP. People in my positions don't talk to SVPs, but here I was. And because I was able to ask the right question to the right person, they were blown away. And now I have a connection that I never thought I would have. And now I have an open door. Hey, if you need help, ask me. If you need help with something, even enhancing your skills in PowerPoint, something so simple that you wouldn't think about, it's there. And people will help you if you show that ability to learn and to want to learn.
Absolutely. And again, yeah, people are people, and I love that. We have this hierarchy in our head, but it's not necessarily how, the world is. And I know, Salaam, kind of in your role, having grown through the company, you've, connected with so many people. So what would be your advice kind of from your path for a recent business graduate?
I truly say, just be genuine with yourself and do not be afraid if someone tells you no. I always say to myself, and my parents actually gave me this advice, if one door closes, another one opens. So don't be afraid, keep knocking, and just make yourself, like, your interest known, and keep going at it. And then don't get discouraged if you get no, because anything takes time. Any good things, like, it took me time because I was so shy and laid back and sitting back, but once I started the good advice, people I trust, I started speaking up and it started working. So speak up. Don't be afraid, and be just determined and believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, no one will. So when you show them you believe in yourself, that's when people start trusting you. And so confidence is key, and networking. Go get into LinkedIn, talk to people. You never know what comes out of it. So those are my advice.
That's fantastic. And it is, just kind of taking those opportunities and being able to be open to the learning. And Maddie, you probably ran into that too, right? With, having a business degree and then getting a data and analytics degree. So what would be your best advice for someone in a business program for wanting to work in your field?
Yes, definitely. Again, I would echo a lot of the same sentiments around learning a ton, being open to learn. One of so the current role that I'm in, I had no experience with any of the tech stack that they were using, but they were totally okay with that. They were, willing to take the leap of faith for myself to, accept the position and offer me the position. And I was confident to accept the position, knowing that, I'm willing to learn, going in with that mindset of, even though it's a totally new tech stack, like, you can learn it. You have experience with other tools, and it will transition. That might be a little bit tough for the first month or two, learning all these new tools. But again, no one expects you to know everything on day one. Even if you've worked with a tool before, you're coming into a new organization, new data, new processes, whatever it might be. So again, just really echoing, being open to learn, whether that be, a hard skill, learning and improving on your communication skills. I always love the saying, if you can't explain it to a fourth grader, whatever it might be, then you don't know it well enough. So being open to learn to get to that point of knowledge where you can explain it, confidently to a fourth grader and actually get the point across. Definitely, the same sentiment as many others have expressed of learning is your greatest tool throughout your journey.
I love that. And it's the best setting. We're in higher education here, and it's all about kind of that lifelong curiosity and learning. And Matt, I know you're in a similar role as Maddie in data analytics there. So tell us a little bit kind of what your advice would be for a business graduate kind of wanting to work in either marketing or analytics, and tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, that the quality that when I'm interviewing people is I'm looking for intellectual curiosity. And that essentially it harps on the idea of lifelong training. Like me, I was trained as an engineer. So my wife gets really upset with me. I want to pick up everything and pull it apart. I want to know how it works. But that really opens you up to connecting with people in different aspects, and that reaching out to somebody because you don't understand their job function, and you're opening them up to future engagements with you, understanding something that you would never have exposure to, and having treating that like a training opportunity. You can apply that knowledge to something else, or use that to pivot the conversation to, I heard you say this, here are tools in my toolbox that I could use to help you here and further this engagement. There's opportunities all over the place for analytics, and it's a really transferable skill. So find those opportunities to apply those skills and make the most of it. Everything is a learning opportunity.
That's amazing. And I appreciate everyone's insights. This has been such a great panel of my questions. I hope everyone in the audience is ready with their questions, because you all have such tremendous advice and experiences. So I'd like to pass it on over to Daisy to lead on the student question and answer portion. And again, thank you to our panelists for being here this evening and volunteering your time. And Daisy, I'd love to hear if you have any questions coming through, or if anyone has a question and they want to come on camera and turn their mic on and ask the panel directly, you're welcome to do that as well. So feel free to raise your hand or just jump right in.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you, Dana. I did have a couple questions come through, and I actually have a couple of my own as well. So if I could please start with Tasha. Someone asked, someone kind of was curious about trying to pick a field, or I guess a type of an analyst position that best suited them, what kind of advice would you give someone who's looking for a concentration that suits them?
Well, first off, I think that was part of my initial, what do I want to do? I have this analytic mindset. So what do I want to do and where do I want to go? And I wouldn't focus so much on what do I want to do, because mine pivoted. Mine pivoted from what was it that I want to do as to where do I want to go for a career. And so then I started, what are the core values? What does the company represent? What is it like in that environment? And using LinkedIn to connect with those people, and even handshake, like speak to the recruiters and have that one-on-one, see if their actions mimic the culture of the company. And from there, it was what's available, and looking through those job descriptions, what would my day look like? And then from there, it was like, oh, product analyst, I could do this. Not so much sales, even though I sound like an extrovert, but it was, I could be a product analyst. And then from there, because I was able to get my foot in the door with the company, a lot of the time, like for me, it was, and I see it day in and day out with the people that I work with, it's not so much of the skills that you have, but it's what others can see in you. Like, this is what I can see your potential being. So I'm going to help you out with that. Like, get that in that company, find that mentor, can keep growing those skills, and realize that there's way more that you don't know than you actually do know. And from there, my role immediately, within 6 months, it was, okay, you're going to transition from a product analyst to product operations analyst. So just get your foot in the door, read the job descriptions, and find that company that you want to work for, not necessarily you think, well, this might be the path that I want to take. That was the case for me.
That's awesome. And if I could actually stick with you for a second, would you say that process and those skills and that kind of curiosity is what FIS will be looking for in a business applicant who is applying as well?
Yes. A lot of times at FIS, what they're looking for is somebody, not necessarily the skills that you have. I mean, because of course there are skills that you have, but they want to see somebody that is willing to learn, somebody that they can work well with, because you're always going to have something that you don't know how to handle. There's going to be they want to see people that, can I work with you? Can I evolve with you? Are you the type of person that has the curiosity that you can problem solve? And is this something that I can have that conversation with you to where we may be okay disagreeing, but we're going to be able to listen to each other and then take that and figure out what is it that we can do? Because it shouldn't always be I'm right and you're wrong, and it needs to be my way or your way. It's, are you amazing at what you do? Do you have the ability to get things done? I can't tell you how many times at FIS, the people that stand out are the ability that they have the ability to get things done. So it's, can I work with you and can we get things done?
That's a great answer. I think that the idea of constructive disagreements is a fantastic one. And I know some of my most powerful meetings have come from me saying, I don't understand. Can we try again? So that's fantastic. Thank you for that. And if I can move on to Gary, actually, I've got a couple questions here from students who are curious about the hard skills of the business side of the roles that you do. Could you speak to that, what that student might need?
Well, with that, it's going to be more so of definitely having a technology basis from what we've all talked about, like the BI tools, learning HRS, human resource information systems, getting that experience. And you might say to yourself, I don't have that experience right now, but in every job that you have, there's always an opportunity for you to gain that experience. Everything doesn't have to be all or nothing. I've been in plenty of roles where there might have been some extra time and I might have helped out with something and someone was able to show me some things and I was able to add those skills. So in the role that I'm in, it's very platform heavy. I work with a variety of platforms, human resource information systems. So that is a good base, and to reiterate what everyone else was saying, also Excel. If you think that you know Excel, you can still learn even more about Excel, because a lot of times people will get in there and they think that they know something, and then I might show them just a formula or something like this, and they're like, oh, the light bulb goes off, and then they're able to take those skills as well. So that's pretty much the heavy of what I deal with.
Perfect. Yeah, I think Excel is magic as far as I'm concerned. There's no other way to explain it. So, Gary, would you agree, generally speaking, that hard skills can be taught and soft skills are kind of more maybe the meat and potatoes of a role? So you can always learn Excel, you can always learn more, but the soft skills are kind of where the bulk of it's at?
I would say they can both be learned. It just all goes about the type of person and that you want to be. So if there's a soft skill that you want to get better at, it involves taking a chance and putting yourself in an opportunity that'll force you to do something that you might not ordinarily do, because sometimes there are natural born introverts. So try doing something that puts you in an extroverted role in which you have to talk to people, in which you have to present, and in which you have to really work in a group and things like that. So I really say it depends on the person, and for all people, it helps just to be open-minded. Yes, the hard skills are where it's at, but ultimately soft skills is very, very important for you to work and to constantly evolve. So take the mindset of evolving on the hard skill side as well as the soft skill side as well.
I love that. Tasha, did you want to add to that?
Yes, I do. Gary is exactly right. It takes a little bit of both, because I can tell you, I've worked with people that would never be client facing at all. And their team refused to do that. And they were the brightest of that I've ever worked with as far as programming analyst. And then there are others that, were introverts that was like, I'd never see myself do this, or people that you would think that would be extroverts. And it's like, oh no, I can't do this. And I said, we all have to start out somewhere. I might have done client facing communications in a different way, but we all have to start somewhere. And it's when you are willing to learn, no matter if you have those skills or you don't, being willing to do it and practice it, that's where you get better. And putting yourself out there will give you the ability to accomplish great things. So don't think, hard skills, soft skills, just being willing to learn and just put yourself out there, you will accomplish amazing things. And because some of my coworkers have started doing that, people are seeing them, they're rising and they're shining in the organization, and leaders are being amazed, like, you're capable of this. Well, they didn't put themselves out there, so nobody ever knew.
That's fantastic. And honestly, I think that's a great way to wrap it up. I could ask 1,000 more questions out of all of you. You guys have been amazing, but I know we're coming up on time. So I appreciate that. And Dana, I would like to pass it back to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Daisy, for reviewing the questions from the chat. And again, thank you to all of our panelists for your time and your experience and your expertise. And we really appreciate you joining us today for the SNHU Career Services event. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Monday evening. And if anyone in the attendance has questions, feel free to email me at d.mcgrath@snhu.edu, and I'm happy to relay those questions to our panelists. If you have a specific panelist you want to have answer that, if they're willing. And other than that, this will be recorded. I will share this out within the next few days to both the panelists and attendees, along with a copy of the slides for the introduction, just as a refresher of our panelists' titles and companies. So keep an eye out on their career pages. And again, we thank you for being here, and have a fantastic rest of your Monday.
Thank you.
Thanks all.